Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching Tekken Bloodline, which is streaming now on Netflix and is based off the Tekken video game series. Now, when it comes to the Tekken franchises, there have been attempts both live action and animated to try and capture the fun and thrill of Tekken as a fighting game while also trying to get a good story out of it. Unfortunately, most of its efforts have only resulted in either complete failure or a visually impressive film that doesn't manage to have much of a story to tell at all. But Tekken Bloodline happens to basically take its story inspiration from Tekken 3, which probably is the strongest story out of all the Tekken games, and it focuses mainly on the story of Jin Kazama and Heihachi Mishima. So does it work? Let's see. The story starts with Jin Kazama awakening to his devil gene while he happens to be living with his mother Jun Kazama. One day, a mysterious being known as Ogre arrives and seemingly kills Jin's mother as she tries to defend him. Jin heads over to his grandfather Heihachi Mishima, who decides to train him in the way of Mishima-style karate to prepare him for the King of the Iron Fist tournament. And since Mishima's Zaibatsu is one of the most lucrative of the entire world, Heihachi, of course, has all the money and resources to have a giant tournament with fighters from all over the world to see who will be crowned the King of the Iron Fist. So that's all I'll say about the story. The story is basically very similar to Tekken 3 when it comes to its overall setup, with some characters from the newer games, like Leroy Smith included, that are generally more fan favorites, but who basically only get mainly an extra fight to add to the runtime, which is a bit odd considering that the series only has 6 episodes total, and it skips a few matches in the tournament that aren't exactly plot relevant. Though it does have some matches that fans would naturally see in a lot of the current Tekken games, like Ling Xiaoyu versus Nina Williams, for example, or there's other fighters like Paul Phoenix, Hao Rong, King, Anna Williams, etc., that many fans of the games will ultimately recognize. But one of the problems here is that when the characters aren't fighting, most of the plot is pretty straightforward, and it's basically a by-the-numbers revenge story that you've seen a million times in these kinds of adaptations. But when the characters are fighting, it's actually pretty fun. That's mainly because Lark's Entertainment, the same animation studio who provided the animation for Kengan Ashura, did this series. And their flashy 3D and 2D style fights happen to mix the two animation styles pretty well, especially considering the style here happens to be a simplified version of the Tekken art style that still manages to make for fluid movement and still manages to make the fight scenes feel pretty punchy. That's especially the case when it comes to the fights that take place in the actual tournament, though it does take half of the series to get to the tournament. The first half is mainly taken up with Jin living with his mother, him training with Heihachi Mishima, and when it comes to him learning the personalities and the motivations of some of the other fighters, though not all of them. So I would say that it is probably a better idea to play the games when it comes to getting the full Tekken experience, but when it comes to Tekken adaptations, this is probably the best one of the bunch, which isn't saying very much. But while Netflix has been on a roll when it comes to video game adaptations, this isn't one of their best ones. But for what it is, it's an enjoyable 6-episode show that doesn't take that much time to complete, and it gives you the exact kind of over-the-top action that Tekken happens to really do well in. That's why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. See you next time.